and share. Okay. All right. Okay. So where the heck are we? Wrong week. Okay. So here, final poster information. All right, so if we take a look at those guidelines, like I said, I already kind of went through these, so there's just a couple things to point out and what we're gonna focus on today, okay? So I kind of broke it out for the content in different sections, if you guys see on there, and I'm sharing this on Zoom. So if for some reason you don't have your laptop and can't pull it up, then pull it up on Zoom. But for the content, right, remember I talked about kind of, well, one about just structure of it, okay? That's fine. Don't worry about that right now. We want to think about content, right? So for the content, the first part is kind of like prevalence, right? Things like that, right? Sort of background information on that disease, okay? Then remember, then I have it broken down in the next section on section 2, it's causes, okay? So now you start getting a little more technical, okay? Section 1 is kind of like overview, like if you did this project, like literally probably in grammar school, you could come up with statistics and stuff on something, right? For causes, it's exactly what the mechanism of the disease is, okay? So that's what we want to start thinking about that, and then the next section as well. So what do I mean? I guess somebody give me an example of their disease. Oh, somebody chose, well, I don't know. You guys on Zoom, do you have a representative from your group here, everyone that's on Zoom? Otherwise, throw out a topic for me, because I kind of asked them all their topics. Somebody throw out a topic on Zoom.
Christina and I are doing ADHD.
ADHD. All right, so when you think about like causes of ADHD or whatever, or kind of like biology, right? Like biological mechanism, what do you think you would kind of be putting for that? Or what would you be focusing on, I guess? Okay, good. Say that louder. Okay, chemical imbalance of the brain. So what do you mean by that then, when you say chemical imbalance of the brain? This actually pertains a little bit to chapter 6 too, so kind of a good topic to talk about, but what do you mean by that? Okay, okay, all right, so that's good. So like, that's what I mean. You want to kind of, saying chemical imbalance of the brain, right, is a little general, right? So we got to get a little more specific, right? What brain areas what neurotransmitters are increased or decreased in what brain areas, right? Kind of more specifics like that. So it sounds like you guys are kind of on the right track. So I just wanted to kind of pull an example like that. So yeah, so like I said, that kind of, for chapter 6, while we're on this topic, right? Chapter 6 focuses on like substance use disorders, right? And so obviously you got to talk a little bit about neurobiology in there. So the beginning of chapter 6, I'll talk a little bit about that. By the way, I will upload chapter 6's lecture by tomorrow, okay? Just so you guys know, okay? But you mentioned what neurotransmitter? Dopamine. I think we mentioned dopamine before too, right? When we were talking about leptin, I mentioned dopamine, didn't I? Yeah? I think so. What are some examples of other neurotransmitters? Epinephrine, yeah. What else? What's another one? Another neurotransmitter? Anyone got one on Zoom?
Would it be like serotonin?
Yeah, serotonin, that's another one. Say it again. Yeah, I mean, say it again.
Histamine.
What'd you say?
Histamine.
Histamine is technically, yes. Can we consider it, not really. I don't know if we would consider that a neurotransmitter. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but the point, my example, right, with the ADHD, or your example with the ADHD, was to try to make you guys understand when we're talking about causes, we want to get as specific as we can with our disease, okay? So that's that one component. The other big component of the poster is the new discoveries kind of component there, right? So why doesn't somebody else throw out a different topic? Another topic. When are you guys in here? What's your topic? Gestational diabetes, right? So what are you thinking? Like, I mean, I guess if you're thinking kind of like of new information about it, what types of things might you think about, I guess? Or are you thinking of something kind of have you found some information, I guess, about something? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so is that, all right, so now if you're thinking though about, like, if we're thinking about a new discovery or evidence-based research, where would you kind of go with that to go a little further, I guess? Right? Again, we want to try to think about getting deeper. That's the whole reason of doing this poster, right? You guys are focusing on one specific disease. You want to find out a lot of information about that disease, right? Right, so you got to kind of dig deeper. So if you're thinking about, you're right, the link of obesity with gestational diabetes, I don't know, what then, I guess, are there some questions that might kind of come to mind, more sort of scientific or biological questions, I guess? What do you think? Or you would have to focus, I guess, on some specific aspect, like of diabetes, of obesity that might be linked to gestational diabetes, right? Something like that. Does that help a little bit? So, and I'll help you guys as you guys start looking. So I guess what you can start off by doing is looking in the literature, just searching, say in PubMed, like obesity and gestational diabetes, right? And then looking at those articles to see what specifically you now can kind of focus on, right? Like what did we learn recently that's sort of new about that connection? Does that make sense? Okay. So again, we got to kind of think about it on a deeper level. Okay. Super easy. Like I said, to do a poster like this, like you could do this, like I said, in middle school or grammar school. Here's my poster on diabetes, right? But it can't be on that level. It has to be much more, it has to go a lot deeper, right? In terms of causes and also in terms of the research that's related to it that you guys read. Okay, does that help, guys, on Zoom? Does anyone have questions about that? You guys have questions? Okay, and that's why I always like to spend a little bit of time in class, probably one or two, like we'll do it today, maybe we'll do it one other time, just to kind of help you guys kind of think about it on that level. All right, we're good right now? Okay, so go ahead. Due Friday. Right, and so we're going to talk, that's what we're going to kind of focus on now, okay? So correct, the assignment, what you're going to focus on right now with your group is I want each one of you to find an article, find a journal article, okay, through PubMed or through some other database you can use, right? That you're going to read and potentially use in your poster, okay? So for the assignment, basically you're just going to write a brief summary of that article, mostly focusing on how you're going to use that in your poster or what information you're going to kind of use in your poster, right? Why it's interesting. Does that help? So you can kind of, I guess what I want you to do is think about those two kind of categories that I just talked about. Either something focused on kind of the causes or something focused on like new research, okay? And each person needs to find an article related to kind of one of those things, and you're going to write a summary, and that's due on Friday. Okay, so this is to get us started kind of right on the right track off the beginning, and I'll help you guys find the articles. That's what we're doing today. Okay, yeah. Oh no, definitely not. The actual project's due like towards the end of the semester, so this is just one piece of it, right? And then I'll give you probably, I think I have another assignment where you do an outline. So I kind of keep you again on track rather than just being like, all right, your poster's due, on November 2nd and just leave you to do it. I mean, that's fine too, but I feel like, I like to kind of break it up in a few different assignments, kind of leading you along the way. Because what happens if I say it's due November 2nd, right? You wait until November 1st to do it. That's what I would do. So I'm trying to keep it so that we don't do that, right? Because it isn't as simple, I guess, as it appears, right? I'm really, again, expecting you guys to get pretty deep in terms of that information and really understand what's actually happening with that disease, right? What do we know about it now? What have we learned that's new, okay? So you guys may find, I think I said this last time, you may find today, like after you guys start talking about this and look for articles, you may be like, oh crap, I don't know about this disease, right? Maybe it's hard for me to really get at the mechanism or whatever, or I'm not finding enough information. And then that's okay. You can switch topics if you need to, okay? For the most part though, there's enough information out there on probably pretty much any disease that you can think of, okay? Other questions? Any questions on Zoom? Right, so this is what we're doing right now. We're talking to our group members. Okay, if you're in person, arrange yourself so that you guys can talk to each other. Somebody at least has to have a computer so that you can search for articles. If you don't have a computer and you want to like go into a computer lab for a little while or whatever, you could do that and then come back in 10 minutes, but I got to talk to you first so that I get everyone on the right track. If you don't have a group, like I said, I think there was only 2 people that let me know that. I'll figure that out right now too, okay? One other thing, everyone needs to, before we start, needs to have put their group names and the topic in that Google Doc, okay? Is there anyone who hasn't done that for their group? Here, you guys haven't? Okay. Okay, do you have access to that Google Doc? Did you see my email? That if not, I'll tell you to come over here and give me your emails. I'm gonna send it to you, okay? You guys, you see that Google Doc? Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so I sent an email about putting up your group names and your topics on that Google Doc because we need to make sure we're not doing duplicate topics, okay? Everyone else, you put that up already? Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. You guys on Zoom, did somebody from your group put your group members' names and the topic up? If you didn't, just unmute and let me know.
Can I just ask a quick question again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. For the articles that we're submitting, does each person from the group submit a different one?
Correct. Each
Okay,
person has to submit a different article for this assignment on Friday. Again, this is also a way of assessing some individual, assessing people individually, right? Rather than it just all lumping into this, here's your group project and it's due, and then really I have no idea who actually did the work, okay? So yeah, each individual person has their own article, okay, for Friday? Thanks. Other questions, guys? No? All right, and everyone on there put their names and their topic in the Google Doc. All right, so I'm gonna pull that Google Doc up and then I'm gonna come around. So you guys on Zoom, can you FaceTime with your group members and start working on this? All right, so we're working on finding some articles, okay? And then I'll check in with you guys on Zoom and then I'll check in with everyone here. So just work on that and then we'll see where we're at, okay? All right, let me get that Google Doc open. Yeah, you guys talk to each other and start working as I do that. Don't be so quiet.
Dr. Ramsey?
Yeah.
Oh, did you see in the chat? I said I also need someone, a partner, or to be put in a group.
Okay. All right, let me just write that down. All right, so let me see what I got here. And you guys can confirm all this here. And then, yeah, Rosemary, I got you. All right, guys, this will kind of be attendance too. So Michelle and Herbina, you guys are doing leukemia. All right, cool. Those groups that have only 2 in them, I may assign another person with you, or the 3 people that kind of don't have a group, I may just put you guys together, okay? So let me just figure that out. So, all right, Justina and Jackie, ADHD, yeah? All right, cool. Chantel and Sherelle, lupus, okay. Winterlyn and Joya, gestational diabetes, all right. Shakira and Hannah, MRSA, okay. So you can. Sydney and Jaylene, Zika. Okay, you guys, yep. Amanda, Quinn, Christina, and Sarah, AIDS. Who's that? Wait, where's Sarah? Are you guys all on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys can get in contact with each other, start working on that. Okay. Erin, Isabella, and Mercedes, Alzheimer's.
Yes.
You guys are all on Zoom?
Yep.
All right, cool. Alicia, Gabriella, and Sarah. Wait, are you Sarah? You're here twice. Okay, so Sarah, Charles, who are you working with? And she got kicked off of Zoom. All right. Is she coming back on? Trying to get back on, I guess? All right. I was like, what is going on? All right. So you guys are doing Lyme's disease. All right, cool. So we'll find out what group Sarah's in. Okay, so I have Rosemary. Rosemary, Amanda, Conrad's. All right, so those of you guys, Alus, you are on Zoom. Amanda, Conrad's, are you also on Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Rosemary, you're also on Zoom. Okay, so I guess my question to you guys, you three, is, I mean, if there's a group that has 2 people that's listed here on this Google Doc that you're interested in doing that topic, that's a possibility. Why don't you write down in the chat to me what you prefer to do, okay? Or you guys, the 3 of you guys can come up with your own topic and work together, all right? So think about it and just write in the chat what you prefer. You can just do it privately to me, okay? So just think about it and I'll come back to you guys in a second. All right, I'm gonna kind of check in on some people here and then I'll come back. So everyone should be kind of working with their group right now, looking for some articles. Yeah. It would be too. I gotta update that. So that's the point. Hey guys, on the guidelines, I'll change that. Don't worry, I'll just change them. So yes, each, you don't have to do that. So however many people are there, that accommodation. Yeah, I don't know why. Sarah, you're here. Who are you working with? Well, you're too.
If you can find that one, that's fine because we both have to do a different one. So yeah.
Alright, this side, I'll come back. Alright, how we doing? Okay. Alright. If you guys need help with articles, let me know, right? How we doing? Oh, okay. That's probably a good one. Yeah, oh, the other thing is that's on the guidelines, everything has to be within 5 years, new, right? For like the basic information, if something's a little older, that's okay. But for those like new discovery articles, it has to be within 5 years, okay? We'll be fine. Is that what year is that? Alright, but it's new, it's new. So you know what, that's a good place to start, because you can look at that as a review, and then you can then find other articles from them, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I want to know. So yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's one of the things you might want to talk about. Discovery, right? Okay, that's good, I like that. All right, yep. Where you guys go?
Yeah.
All right, and then just come, then come back with like articles to show or whatever. Okay. Yeah. All right, just come back, so 10 minutes. 17 minutes.
That was great. I've written down some topics that we can do. But there's like so many. This is a good Yeah.
So then,
I think we should also touch on like how antibiotics work, their effect on cells, and like why strains of bacteria are releasing, because I think that's a really
So in an update summary, guys, hopefully we'll just answer the same question. You just want that article that you get, you just really want to summarize what the article is about. And then really, probably half of that page should be spent on the information from that article that you're going to use in the paper. So whether it was an article about prevalence and stuff like that, you can pull that and be like, all right, I plan on including, this information that I learned from the article. Does that make sense? But kind of, so I guess maybe think of it as kind of two different paragraphs. First paragraph, kind of like overall, what's the article about, right? And then the second paragraph, how, what you specifically are using. Because you may not, you're not going to use everything, which is fine.
Yeah. I guess not. I don't know. She didn't really talk about it, but she did you see the example one that she has? It's on Leo. So
Alright, so again, you gotta be careful, like, this is probably.
yeah, I think so. I don't see. I don't know. I don't have to ask her. I don't want to say yes, but I think so. Right.
But then again, when you're gonna then focus kind of on the research and the part, then you're gonna have to get specific, right? All right, this new treatment was discovered to this specific, or a new test,
Yeah.
or, it doesn't have to be treatment, it could be anything.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, so this will help you, but again, remember, it doesn't have to be a BC model. It doesn't have to be therapy, right? It could even be something about that, or some genetic cause, but that's a good way to start. Okay? Yeah, so you know what you're gonna have to kind of do your summary on it, and then you're like, so just find an article right now, right? You should actually just read the literature. Correct, it just gets your start. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, right?
What?
Yeah, that's the same one. Yeah. So don't make sure you don't use the same one. Yeah, same one. But you could, if you go read through that article, right? There is it's kind of like a review.
No, I have no idea.
Summarize other people's work.
I'm sure there's like a
So you can be like, all right, that's how
I'm in the middle of this.
let me look for that. I mean, we'll look at their references and pull that citation. You know what I mean? So it's okay to kind of use that at the start. You can't all use the same article. Probably for the beginning part, but you're not going to be able to use it for the discovery part. You would probably have to pull something specific that they talk about and go and look at that. Right? Yeah, because these kind of articles will help you in terms of identifying like a study that exists, but then you're going to probably want to know read that actual study, read that. Does that make sense? So again, don't worry too much now. Just find an article and kind of get going. Like I said, that's why we kind of do this in steps. Otherwise, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you guys kind of feel like it was necessary to fold, you could do that, like, but then just focus on those two. But I probably rather just focus on one and find as much information as you can. So you may in your beginning, like introduction kind of part of it, you can say here, there's 4 different types. But then when you get to like the new discoveries or the causes, you probably have to focus on one. Okay. Alright, you guys, are you guys working together? Yeah. Okay. You're just all up in the all right, cool. So that's fine. Nobody else is doing that, so that's fine. So we'll be fine. All right. Okay, so now start looking in the literature and use PubMed, or whatever other database. I don't know. Do you guys, in any of your other classes, have you guys been looking in the nursing literature or anything like that? Not really, right? I think, I was gonna say, I think there is. Okay, right. So that's why I like to get you guys out of this. I just not a scientist, like I always think about this kind of stuff, but I think it's good for you guys to kind of, look at these nursing journals and things like that, right? Remember that you can keep it focused on nursing journals. That makes your life easier, rather than like, right? You guys know that, right? You can filter in PubMed just to pull up nursing journals if you want to kind of keep it like that. But you don't have to, okay? But that's just kind of one thing to think about. Because sometimes it's overwhelming how much stuff you get. Like, what the heck? So you have to try to be specific. Yeah. We do. Okay. Now you can get it in this like, so in this full text version, like if you're gonna pull one of the figures into your poster, it's best to copy paste from there. But then you can also get the PDF too. It's easier to read. See there? Yeah. Okay. Got it? Yep. You got it. You guys have a question? Or? Okay. Okay. Okay, that's very good. That's very organized. I like it. We already found our articles. Okay. Digital. Yeah. It's just gonna be. So if you look at my template, like you can use Canva if you wanted, but usually when we make them, we use PowerPoint. And it's just like that single slide. So yeah, it's gonna be digital. Like you guys will probably do it single. You'll just pull up that one slide as your poster, and then you're gonna kind of talk to your voice. Yeah. I mean, double space is probably okay. If you're double spacing, you go over a page, that's fine. Oh, yeah, all right? Yeah. All right. Okay. Go back. Yeah, now you may like for your specific causes and things like that, you're probably not gonna find that in the nursing journal, but I think for you guys, it may be nice to kind of use the nursing journal for that section that evidence based aspect. You know what I mean? But you don't like, yeah, see, so let's say that. Oh, did she decide? Right. Oh, no, that's I actually. It's only 2 seasons. Okay. I don't know why I wrote that. I think that we can use articles for the no, okay, so you can use other sources, guys, for like to find information on problems and stuff like that. You need to cite them. Sources like Wikipedia and stuff, not a good source. CDC, NIH, those sources are okay. Yeah. Okay. You guys heard that for like your basic info? You can use like CDC, NIH, NIMH, like those kind of sources, but don't, try not to use Wikipedia. I mean, a lot of times, like, you can Google it and kind of see some information or whatever, but then you've got to go to that more trustworthy source and cite that. So I'm okay with that, but you still want to use primary literature. You got to have at least four references, journal article references in total, right? But and that's in total. But depending on group members, each one of you would have to present something in that last section on new research, right? But you'll need 4 total to make the poster essentially of journal article research.
Did you hear what she said?
Well,
Yeah.
start off with
Yeah.
see if you find a review article, just, go to like CC, or see a little bit more about it, and then kind of choose from that, right? And then if you usually better to
Dr. Kaminsky?
1 second, sorry. In your kind of basic info about it, you may want to say, like, there are different forms of tuberculosis, right? And then later on, you may okay? So you kind of decide.
Yeah.
All right, you'll figure it out. All right, let me see. Somebody on Zoom has a question. All right, sorry, Zoomers. You guys who has a question?
It's okay. Yeah, we have a question for our group. We decided to stick together, Rosemary, Amanda, and I.
Perfect.
And we were thinking about either choosing epilepsy as a topic or traumatic brain injury. We wanted to get your input. We wanted to get your input on which one you think would be able to find more information on.
Epilepsy is probably a lot easier to do.
Okay.
So I would choose that if you just want a recommendation.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Now
Thank you.
you probably could bring in traumatic brain injury into that somehow, right? Like, because I'm sure there's studies or research out there that shows that traumatic brain injury can cause epilepsy. In fact, I know there is. So if you wanted to kind of use that as one of your like research articles, maybe then that's a way of kind of bringing in that too, if that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, you got it. Other questions, guys? Just write in your topic if you can on that Google Doc, guys. So just so I have everyone there. Sarah, did you choose? You got to choose. Which group are you going to work with, Sarah? Lyme disease or AIDS?
I'm gonna just do the AIDS one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I'll just use that. Perfect. I just want to make sure I have the correct record of who's doing what.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Other questions, guys, on Zoom, or I'm going to check in with you guys to kind of see where you're at, but I guess I'll give you a couple minutes and then I'll check back in, okay? All right. All right, how's everyone doing? You guys are good? Yeah, you're good? Yeah, like classifying. But I think it's
Pretty straightforward.
new, right? Something that you can learn more recently. I think that's fine. I mean, there's reasons why they're going to classify it differently, right? And some scientific reasons behind it. So that would work. You know? If I, yeah, you have to kind of look through it and be like, all right, will this be like okay? Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's kind of like the title. It looks like it's good. You look at it, you're like, oh, this isn't really. Sometimes articles aren't written well, where there's a ton of technical language that looks sometimes difficult to kind of read through it. So that's just like that might be like this thing. I think these are just easy words, right? So completely, just like several times, you may find that it's too tense, right? That's the one kind of thing. It's just how you doing, right? You guys all right? Yeah. So did you find an article or what? Let me see what you found. What do you guys find? All right, well, show me. I mean, and it's okay, again, if you do your summary on an article and then you end up not using it, that's okay too. I want you guys just to find the article right now to do your first assignment on. And remember, each person does a different article. We all got that. That's okay. Yeah, 2015 is the oldest. Yeah. Okay, so yes, this will be okay to start with as you do your summary, but then no, when you read that, you're probably going to find some specific study that they summarize. Then you'll probably be like, all right, I'm going to look at that study now, and so you go to the references and you'll pull that up, right, to find that specific one study that they're summarizing. You know what I mean? That's a review. So that's fine to start with. And it's probably a good place to start. But it's probably not going to be an article that you're going to be able to use for the new discoveries part. Okay? But don't worry about that too much right now. Don't worry about that. I don't want you guys to worry about that. And once you read them, you may find that, oh, maybe it's too technical, it's hard for me to understand, then you may have to find another one. You know what I mean? That's why it kind of takes a little bit of time. So you guys remember how to do the filter for nursing journals on PubMed? It's under journals. If you go to more filters and you get journals, you can click just nursing journals. Okay? We just figured that out. That's the same one. Okay. Yeah, just make sure you're not using the same one. Alright, good. Okay. So just like I said, that's okay to use for your summary. Totally fine with that. But when you get to like the new discovery kind of part of it, you're gonna have to probably find a specific article maybe that they mentioned there or something kind of newer. So start with that. You're gonna find to start with that, right? Right? Don't worry, because you can't worry about everything at once, right? Start with that, read it, see kind of what information you think is interesting that you're gonna use in your posts, right? Then from there we can go further. Okay? Got it? Alright, hey guys, everyone hear that? Don't get yourself all like overwhelmed and crazy with these journal articles. For now, pick one, read it, right? Say, okay, that's interesting, I think I'm gonna use this in my poster. That then kind of just gives you some more possibilities and kind of helps you focus on what you know, not to use the same word again, but what you kind of want to focus on your poster, okay? The article that you pick may not be perfect. Don't worry about it. Just go with it, read it, and then see where you're at from there, okay? This is kind of just first step, all right? So don't get, all crazy. And sometimes you may read through the article and it may be really hard to understand. It may be really technical. Then maybe you have to kind of ditch that one and go with another one, okay? Don't expect to understand everything in there. That's the other thing. So there may be aspects or parts of that article that you don't really understand completely, right? If they're talking about some experimental technique, or maybe the data is complicated, it's okay if you don't understand everything. But again, with that said, if you're not understanding a lot of it, maybe you need to ditch that article and get something that's a little more simple, okay? But just go with what you find right now for your summary, all right? And then we can kind of continue on from there, all right? Don't worry like, oh, maybe this isn't the perfect one, who cares? Just go with it, and then you're gonna keep kind of building, okay? Does that make sense? All right, guys? You guys on Zoom, hopefully heard that too. All right, I'm gonna check on you guys on Zoom here, see where you guys are at and what you found. So if you wanna share your screen and show me an article, you could do that. If you have questions, you can let me know as well. I'm gonna move over here. So who wants to go first?
Do we just share our screen and show?
Yeah, go ahead. Who's that? Who's starting there? What group?
Erin.
Erin, Isabella, and Mercedes? Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So one of you kind of share your screen and just kind of update me where you guys are at, all right?
Okay. 1 second.
Sure.
So this is the article I'm doing.
Okay.
So basically, Bella and I just picked our articles. Mercedes isn't available right now. She is handling something. So we just picked our articles. I don't have the link to Bella's article.
Okay, remember, right, you each need to have your own article, right? Remember, they're different. Okay, okay. All right, so again, this is gonna help you, and this is fine to start with and probably a good place to start because this is like a review article, right? So for your summary for Friday, you wanna just summarize kind of the way I'm kind of explaining it, summarize in the first paragraph what the article sort of presents. And then in the second paragraph of your summary, you really wanna say how you're gonna use this article, right? What information from this article are you gonna focus on in your poster, okay?
Okay.
That's how I want you guys to write that summary, I guess, right? So yes, this is an okay place to start. One word of caution, this journal is a little weird, but it's okay, just go with it. You guys don't really know that, but like, it looks like this isn't even, it has to be peer reviewed, but whatever, it doesn't matter, you're fine. If it's on PubMed, it's probably fine, so we're not even gonna go down that road. So
Okay.
use it, and then if you find something in there that sort of interests you a little bit more, right? Look for that reference, right? And then say, all right, I'm going to read that actual article of the study that they're summarizing. Okay? So that's why a review article is a good start.
All right. Perfect.
All right. You're okay then, I think. Yeah. All right. Who else wants to share where they're at? Who we got here? All right, I guess Christina, Amanda, and Sarah, where are you guys at? What'd you guys find? Oh, you're muted, Christina.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Sorry, we're on group FaceTime, so we're kind of listening to both at the same time.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. We're just looking for articles now. I think I might have found one. I'm just kind of reading it right now. I was just saying that it was written by Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. For you guys, you know, for AIDS, right? I mean, easy probably in terms of like new discoveries, probably treatments is probably the stuff that you'll find the most on, right? I don't know what you kind of came across so far. But whatever, I mean, it's fine. So whatever you find, remember each individual person has to find their own article. If you start with a review, which is kind of what most people are starting with, that's fine. So for this, you know, just go with it, read it, you know, decide what you're kind of thinking of focusing on in your poster, I guess, and just including that in your summary. All right. Do you have questions, or you guys feel like you're all right now? Did you find a lot of information, a lot of articles?
I think I might have found something, but I'll share my screen with you in a little bit.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, it's so the article, I think it's called Ending the HIV/AIDS Pandemic, Follow the Science. So my impression is that it's about like evidence-based practice. That's what I'm like looking for.
Okay.
But I'll just share my screen with you.
Yeah, sure. And remember that you can, you know, you can filter it so it just pulls up nursing journals too, if that's helpful too. Sometimes it might be nice to kind of do that first and then see what you find, you know, if that's kind of what your focus is.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? There's just an echo.
I said,
I don't know if
you can filter your search to just pull up nursing journals too.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know, on PubMed, if you hit journals, it'll give you a choice of just doing that. Sometimes that's helpful.
Okay.
You don't
I'll
have-
share my screen with you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
So it's from 2015, I think.
Yeah, so that's the oldest you want to go. So it is a little bit old, but I think it's okay. Because again, it'll maybe give you kind of some information that you then want to specifically look for more info on. You know what I mean? So Um, although it's not, it's
So
pretty
it does
short.
talk about evidence-based, but this might be good, but I'll look for something more recent.
Yeah, you probably need something a little more in depth, I think.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Who else? Who else didn't I get? Oh, Eluse, Rosemary, and Jackie. So I'm not looking at the Google Doc. I forget who's. Oh no, Amanda. Sorry.
Yeah, since we just decided on the topic, we're still searching for articles.
Okay. All right. Just let me know, I guess, if you have questions in terms of searching. Okay. Or what you're.
So we should search under review articles or journals?
I mean, you don't necessarily have to search under review articles. I would just probably leave it open to both right now. But sometimes, like I said, the review is a nice place to start. So
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
I searched this one. I just searched it, I guess, and it's an article just saying a lot about like the epidemiology and like types of epilepsy. Is that too much to take like a little part and then make it my own?
So you
Like
can use
neuroimaging.
yeah, but that's going to be more for like the beginning part of the poster. You're not going to be
Yeah.
able to use that for like the evidence-based research kind of new discovery part, but you can use that now for your assignment for Friday. That's okay.
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 Thank you.
Yep. All right, I think I checked in with everyone. All right, guys, so you guys kind of just 5 more minutes or so. We're gonna work on this and then we're just gonna move on. So let me know if you guys have questions. Like I said, I'll give you like 5 more minutes. Any questions? And then we'll move on. So at least we have an article to do our summary on. Hopefully that's what I'm hoping. Like I said, just finish up guys like 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna talk about the chapter 5 case study. Okay, 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna talk about the case study on chapter 5. And I'm just gonna have to probably. Oh, you know what? Let me see if I can. What do I do with my phone? Let's see if I can get on this screen here.
I have like half of my summary done. I'll talk later.
All right. Okay, guys. So let's talk about the case study from chapter 5. And then I'll probably intro chapter 6 a little bit, but basically I will put up the recorded lecture for chapter 6 by tomorrow, okay? We have a quiz that's due for chapter 5, 6 by the end of the day on Sunday, like Sunday night by like 11:59 p.m. So I'll make sure that that chapter 6 lecture is up, okay? And then there's also a case study for chapter 6 that's due as well, right? So we have the journal article assignments due Friday at the end of the day. You have a quiz on chapter 5, 6, and also a case study on chapter 6, okay? Basically by Monday, okay? So the due dates are all accurate on Moodle, so just a heads up on that, all right, guys? So like I said, what I wanted to do, since I didn't assign a chapter 5 case study, I just wanted to go over it. And so that's what we'll do. It's the case study on Thomas Johnson. So I just put an email out to see how to get on this podium, and I'll have that figured out by next class, but I wasn't expecting there to be a password on there, so I apologize. Anyway, it probably doesn't really matter. So let's get to Moodle, guys. Get to the case studies on chapter 5, right? You can pull up that folder on chapter 5. For those of you guys on Zoom, I'll share. If you don't have your computer and it's easier for you to just log on to Zoom on your phone and look at it that way, you can. If somebody wants to look at my textbook, you could do that too, because the case study's there as well. All right, so let's just make sure you want to look on with your friend. Let's just look at the case study, okay, guys? It doesn't really require that much technology, so I think we'll be all right. So you guys all heard that on Zoom, so let me share my screen. I'm going to pull up that case study in chapter 5, okay? I got a lot of things open here. What am I doing? And by the way, I will also modify the guidelines. Just one last thing on that. If you have 2 people in your group for like the evidence-based practice, the new discoveries, then you only have to have 2 articles there. If you have 3, then it would be 3. Okay, I think I have 3 written in the guidelines. I'll make sure that I change that. All right, guys. All right. Get rid of that. It says Unit 2 case studies. There's a folder. You see it? Okay. Yep. All right. So yeah, so Unit 2 case studies. We're going to look at that case study on Thomas. I always want to say, oh, not that. Thomas Jefferson, but it's not. It's Thomas Johnson. Let me just pull it up from here. So I guess it's technically in last week's module. You'll also find, obviously, chapter 6 case studies are there as well. We're not going to cover chapter 7, okay? So for unit 2, it's just chapters 5 and 6, and then we're moving on to chapter 8. Remember that next exam is 5, 6, and 8, okay? All right, so let's take a look at this. And really, there's kind of one specific part of this that I really want to focus on, I guess, and the reason why I'm pulling it up. And it's not really the introduction part, but we can just take a minute to kind of read through this, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But the questions that the book asks and the answers are really bizarre. They don't make sense to me anyway. So let's just read this intro, and then I'll ask you a question. There's not really much information here, but. All right, so if you guys look at number 1, ignore the intro to the sentence. But if the nurse is taking, or nurse practitioner is taking height and weight, right? What's something that you might be able to calculate with height and weight? BMI, right? And then why? Why would you calculate BMI? Right. So remember, there's categories, right? Criteria in terms of when you calculate that BMI, wherever that number fits in, right? Normal, right? Overweight, obese, or what's the last category? Morbidly obese? I think that's what it's called, right? Okay. So the idea is understanding that calculating BMI is a diagnostic tool, right, for obesity, okay? What do you guys think about it as a diagnostic tool, I guess? Or using BMI to diagnose whether you're obese or not? What do you think?
I think it's a good way to see if you're at risk. Stop.
Okay.
Sorry. To see if you're at risk for a health disease.
Okay, good. Go ahead. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. I think two people kind of brought up a good point, right? So that athletes don't like it, right? And that it shouldn't be your only defining criteria, right? That's a really, really good point. Obviously, it's good to use as sort of first pass, right? But then you also have to be looking at a whole bunch of other things that are going on with that patient, okay? All right, good. This number two, the books, the answer the book was looking for, according to their case study answers, is the cost of his healthcare. So I don't know what they're trying to get at there. So we'll just skip over number two. All right, so let's read a little bit further here, guys, on application. Okay, so Thomas Johnson, application. He's got a lot going on, this guy. So in that first paragraph, because we're going to talk a little bit more about some like clinical tests and stuff like that on the next slide. But from that first paragraph, what's concerning? I mean, you got multiple things that are concerning. Yeah, high risk for everything. What'd you say, Rita? His diet, good. That's one thing, right? So let's kind of list all the things that are concerning. I guess I could write them on the board, but diet. What else?
His bad habits, smoking.
Smoking, yeah. What else? What's another bad habit he's got going on too? Drinking, smoking, drinking, bad diet. What else? Yeah, work, right? He has a stressful job.
The limited physical activity.
Yep, good. Limited physical activity. All right, now what about his health history or his family history? Diabetes, stroke, he's got that against him as well, right? So what else? Heart failure. Yeah, he's got a whole bunch of stuff going on there, yeah? So you got some like genetic kind of components, right? Family history issues. His lifestyle obviously is going to even make that worse, right? So it's really like, I don't know, like quadruple, more than that, a quadruple whammy, right? I mean, everything that he could do wrong, I feel like he's probably doing wrong, yeah? All right, so then it says on physical examination, all right, gives you his vital signs there. Right off the bat, I guess, what's concerning in terms of these vitals that were taken? The blood pressure, yep. What else? What'd you say? Okay. His BMI, yep. Yeah, waist circumference, right? Oh, you guys are doing this. Don't you have a whole class on health? Is this what you guys do in health assessment? Right? So yeah, so these are all got some bad signs going on here. All right, now if we move on, okay, these are some lab values to kind of add to that sort of physical assessment. So let's take a look at these and talk a little bit about these. So this is the one reason why I really wanted to pull up this case study, was to talk about some of these lab values, because I don't know that I really went through this in the lecture. So, all right, well, read the paragraph below it, I guess, too. Some of that we already talked about, but so what's C-reactive protein? What's that a measure of? Yeah, it's a general sort of systemic inflammation marker or inflammatory marker, right? And so why do you think his C-reactive protein, so what's the normal range? Less than 0.8 milligrams per liter. What's his value? 3.5. So it's not like it's like borderline. That's pretty high, right? I mean, that's not, what is that? 4 times, more than 4 times as much, right? So what do you think is causing that, I guess? Potentially, probably. What else? Yeah, I mean, it's so correct. Some inflammation can be coming from that, but it is just a general inflammatory marker. But you're right. If we're going to look at LDL and we're going to look at his triglyceride levels, those are all high as well. And so you can have fatty deposits starting to form in the arteries, right? And then that leads to more inflammation as well. What else leads to inflammation? Just obesity in general, right? What about stress? Also, right? So all of those things that we talked about are all probably contributing to the increase in inflammation, okay? Again, that's really just kind of this general marker. It's not going to give you specific information about kind of what exactly is going on in terms of an inflammatory process, but gives you an indication that something's going on, right? All right, what about fasting blood glucose? What do you guys think about that? Those levels? Yeah, borderline, right? Obviously, if he continues what he's doing, what's he going to end up developing? Yeah, type 2 diabetes, right? Okay. Now, if you look at total cholesterol, and then also while you look at total cholesterol, also look at HDL and LDL levels. And somebody else tell me why that's concerning, or what's concerning about it. Most concerning, I guess. What's very high?
LDLs.
The LDLs, right? So remember, when you're looking at cholesterol, total cholesterol sometimes doesn't tell the whole picture, right? You really want to look at HDLs versus LDLs. And what you don't want is a lot of LDLs, right? And a little bit of HDLs, right? You want a lot of HDLs. So the ratio of HDL, so regardless, you want higher levels of HDL versus LDL, right? Why? If you have high levels of LDL, I kind of already alluded to this, I guess. High levels of LDL, what does that contribute to?
You get a lot of fat stuck in your arteries.
Yeah, it can contribute to atherosclerosis, right? Where we're getting, fatty deposits in the arteries. LDL, what is LDL? Do you guys know? It says it right there, right? Low density lipoprotein. What is it though? It's actually there's a complex of like proteins. So it's called lipoproteins, proteins and lipids that cholesterol associates with, and that's how it travels around the bloodstream. So HDL is cholesterol, but with these high density lipoproteins. LDL is cholesterol carried around by these low density lipoproteins. And the LDLs are the ones that have that tendency to accumulate in the arteries. The HDL actually helps in scavenge like cholesterol and return it to the liver to get metabolized. So it helps kind of get rid of unwanted, or cholesterol that your body's not necessarily using, right? Where the LDL doesn't do that. So that's why you want high levels of HDL, but low levels of LDL, right? The good cholesterol versus the bad cholesterol, okay? And then the last one we didn't talk about was fasting triglycerides, right? So this is showing you, this is lipid levels, like, right? Blood lipid levels. Again, if you have high levels of lipids or triglycerides, put you at high risk for heart disease, right? All right. Let me just see what else we got here. Okay. I guess given all of this information, how are you guys, what do you do as a clinician? How are you going to counsel this guy? What do you think is your kind of number one priority, I guess? Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important, right, to say, hey, these are what these things can lead to, right? All right. And then what advice are you going to give them?
Try to involve more exercise into it.
Yeah, more exercise, change your diet, right? What else?
or to quit smoking.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, some kind of referral for a smoking program or something like that, right? Say it again. Maybe, yeah, yeah. I mean, good. I mean, the point is you want to obviously get at the source, right? All of these things that we talked about are because of his lifestyle, right? Pretty much. And so it's important to be honest with the patient, right? You know, not be like, all right, here's some high blood pressure medicine and here's a cholesterol med, right? And here's, I don't know, so, I mean, this is what clinicians sometimes do, right? Or, you know, patients jump around from clinician to clinician because they're looking for, you know, there's got to be some reason why I have all these health problems. Well, yeah, probably there's one reason, right? And unfortunately, sometimes people, it's hard for people to realize that sometimes, right? So I guess we have to be careful with the way you kind of present that information. So a good way is probably to say, hey, look, this is what could happen, right? You may want to think about changing this. And maybe you have to kind of start it with one thing at a time. Maybe you can't change everything. He's got everything going against him, right? It's not just one thing. All right. So, I mean, I guess the big take home from this case study, guys, is really looking at, you know, some of the physical assessment values and then also these lab values, right? And what they mean. Okay. Any questions about this? We're all right with that? I guess we can take a look at this here too. Let's just look at this one real quick before we move on, and then I'll just pull up or talk a little bit about chapter 6, okay? And then I'll get that up for you guys by tomorrow. All right, what do we got here? So this is Yoshika Devon. If you want to take a look at that introduction. Uh-oh, my battery's running low. Yikes. All right, I mean, that's kind of like, all right, let's move past there. Let's see what else we got. Move on to application. Some of this is kind of redundant. Move on to application and take a look at that, guys. All right, now we're looking at her lab results too. All right, so what about her lab results here, guys? When you look at them. Pretty normal, right? Pretty normal. Yeah. It does mention this type of rash that's consistent with hyperinsulinemia. So what does that mean? Hyperinsulinemia, if I could say it behind my mask.
Is her body creating too much insulin?
Yeah, so that means she has increased levels of insulin in her blood, right? So yeah, so somebody on Zoom said her body's producing too much insulin. So why? Why would her body be producing more insulin than normal? Probably because of her diet, right? So if there's excess glucose around, your body's going to respond by producing more insulin, right? To try to bring that glucose into the cell. So again, this is sort of indication that, well, maybe you're starting to get, again, towards this type 2 diabetes. Though her levels look fine now, right? That could likely change, okay? So these are things to kind of think about and sort of, again, understanding that our levels are normal now, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything's okay, right? All right, see if there was anything else here. I think that's all we need to say about that. All right, guys, so like I said, I will put up chapter 6 lecture. Let me just pull it up real quick just to kind of introduce it. But the chapter 6 is focused on risks related to substance use disorders, okay, and goes through some common substance use disorders. The first part of the chapter, I'll talk about, you know, just some brain regions that are involved, okay, and then also a little bit more neurobiology, but not a lot, right? We can spend a whole semester. I teach a whole course on neurobiology, so we can't really get at everything. But you know, we want to at least have a little bit of understanding. So I will talk about the reward pathway again. So we mentioned at the beginning of class, somebody mentioned dopamine, right? And so dopamine is something that you see increases when you talk about things like addiction, right? Or anything that has rewarding properties is going to increase dopamine, okay, in a particular area of the brain. And then that's believed to, again, be involved in motivation, addiction, all of these things, okay? So anything that's going to interact with that reward pathway can potentially be addictive, okay? So that's why we kind of focus on that pathway. One other just basic kind of biology thing, we mentioned, you know, you guys mentioned neurotransmitters. So how do you explain, or somebody kind of explain, like, we said, what is a neurotransmitter? Well, what releases a neurotransmitter, I guess? Where do neurotransmitters come from? Maybe we can start there, I guess. We're talking about in the brain, right? What's the function, I guess, of a neurotransmitter, or what releases a neurotransmitter? Where are they coming from? It's simple. It's like probably an obvious question, I guess, or an obvious answer. What releases a neurotransmitter? What do you got in your brain tissue there? What are the cells that are there?
Would it be neurons or something?
Yes, thank you. You have neurons, right? You also have glial cells. Do you guys know what's a glial cell? Or glia, neuroglia. What do they do? We're gonna do a little nitty-gritty basic neurobio. What's a glial cell? I know somebody must have mentioned this in anatomy and physiology, right? All right, so neurons, right? When you think about nervous system, you think about the brain, you probably think about neurons, yes? Neurons are the cells that conduct impulses, right? And basically send information, right? So if we talk about, you know, we'll mention this reward pathway. So if we talk about one area of the brain talking to another area of the brain or sending a signal, how are those signals sent? Through neurons, right? You know, there's a action potential that's sent through whatever. If we want to draw the whole reason. So I don't draw neurons very well. I should be better at it. But anyway, this is the cell body, this is the axon, and then this is the terminal. So if we talk about a neurotransmitter, right? Where does the neurotransmitter get released? They're released by neurons. The only reason why I mentioned glial cells is to understand that there are tons of other cells that don't conduct impulses. They're glial cells. They have lots of functions. We don't need to talk about that. But neurons release the neurotransmitter. Where? Yeah, right? The neurotransmitters are going to be released here. And then what's on the other side here? Where does the neurotransmitter go when it's released here? Yeah, to another neuron, right? And so it'll bind to this other neuron, right? Bind to a receptor. And then what happens? It may activate that neuron, right? It could also inhibit that neuron, right? So depending on what happens, it's going to have some effect, right? Some neurological effect, right? So there are certain neurotransmitters that act as excitatory. So somebody picked epilepsy as their topic, right? That's an overactivity of the brain, essentially. And so what you can think about is that there's more excitatory neurotransmitters there, right? As opposed to inhibitory neurotransmitters. So if you think about drugs of abuse, right? Things like heroin, okay, those are opiates, right? They're inhibitory. If you think about Xanax, right? Things like that, inhibitory, okay? They're going to basically cause an increase, or they're going to activate the same neurons and the same pathways that inhibitory neurotransmitters interact with. So I guess the point is, and I think this is mentioned on one of the slides, it says that, you know, drugs of abuse often sort of interact with neurotransmitters. Well, yeah, that's true, right? Sometimes they may interact directly with them, but other times it may not be direct, right? But it can change the levels of these neurotransmitters, which will drastically affect function, right? We're talking about like a psychoactive drug, right? It has effects on mood, behaviors, and things like that. Why? Because it's interacting with neurotransmitters in the brain, right? So, so anyway, you can't get away from this completely. You have to like think about it a little bit in terms of that basic biology when we're thinking about pathophysiology, okay? So that's what the beginning of the chapter is, and then it goes through these different substance use disorders, these common substance use disorders, okay? And so like I said, I will make sure that that's up by tomorrow, okay? And so make sure you guys have listened to chapter 5 and 6. Make sure you complete the quiz for chapter 5, 6. You do the case study in chapter 6, and you get that journal article done, okay? Next week on Monday in class, well, it'll be via Zoom on Monday. We'll review both chapters 5 and 6, probably particularly focusing on chapter 6. And then we're going to be moving on to chapter 8 next week. Okay, guys? And then your exam is that following week, that next exam. All right? Any questions? I'll stay on Zoom. I'll stay. Any questions you guys have, okay? So it's a little early, but not really. 5 minutes or so. So again? What'd you say? I'm sorry. Sunday night, like 11:59 p.m. Yeah. I can't. It's impossible to hear with these stupid things.
I think I found an article. Is it okay if I share my screen with you again?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm actually, if it's okay, I'm actually going to send the link to it in the group, because the issue is that, I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong, because this one's from 2017. It's a really good article. The issue is that I can't find a way to download it because it's saying that you have to pay for it. So I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah. So, okay, send it to me. Usually
Okay.
I can find, you know what, email me. So wait, one thing, when share your screen first, and then I may tell you to just email me the citation and I'll email you back the PDF. Okay.
Okay.
But
Sounds good.
you can set it so that it only shows you free articles. Just show me how you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just show me. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to share the screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I thought all of the JAMA.
So this seems like it would be a really great article, but I don't know a way to get it for.
Okay. How did you search? Did you search through PubMed, or you just Googled this and found this?
I searched it through Google Scholar, and I just searched like different keywords.
Okay. I would use, so the benefit to using PubMed is that you can set things that say free full text or whatever. Keep this though, because I might be able to get it for you. But go to pubmed.gov. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Okay. So when you search this, it's going to pull up every, JAMA, every single journal, peer-reviewed journal. The other thing about using Google Scholar, I think I don't know if it necessarily always pulls peer-reviewed articles, right? So if a journal is not peer-reviewed, then it's really not a good source, right? If you search through PubMed, then it's always going to be pulling that. So yeah, search that. Then there's a filter where you can choose. So look at the filters there, I guess.
Oh, for the time.
See,
Oh.
you can choose free full text there, and it'll only show you the free. Now, with that said, though, if that article you really think like is going to be good and helpful, send me the citation. I probably can get it for you. So
Okay. I think I sent a link to it in the messages in Zoom.
okay, when you clicked on the PDF there, it didn't let you have that. Get that?
Right when I click, yes, I really do think this would be a great article, though. But if not, it's okay. I'll just keep looking.
Oh, here, wait. You know what? Let me just look real quick. You put
Okay.
it in the chat.
Yes.
because I may be able to, because I thought maybe it's not all of those. So any COVID, oh yeah, I guess any COVID related paper there, it's available for free through JAMA, but let me just, I can just quickly do, all right, you don't have to stay on. Let me just see if I can get it for you. If I go through like Rutgers or something like that, and I'll just send you the PDF. Okay.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you so much. If not, I'll just keep looking. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we were going to change our topic to the COVID virus, but we ended up finding more articles. There's a lot of research on it, but just narrowing it down is like important, especially with something like this, where it's like, there's a lot of like, it's categorized in many things, like by woman or by like mental health of AIDS patients. So we're just trying to get more specific with the research.
Right. And I think that's true. I think you gotta kind of like, right, pick kind of one thing that you want to focus on. It makes it easier to find the info. If you just broadly kind of search, you're going to get so much, and then you sort of lose focus. So focusing on a specific population, like you mentioned, is it might be a nice kind of way of focusing it too.
Oh, okay. We didn't know that we could, but I'll tell them we could.
You can, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think you guys kind of just, you have the freedom of kind of choosing where you want to focus, but I guess the point is you have to kind of focus on some aspect. Otherwise then your poster becomes just kind of scratching the surface, right? So I'd rather you be, as specific as you can, but I think you can probably do it by choosing certain populations for AIDS. I think it would work.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay, thank you for your help.